I'm going to start with you, actually.
Okay.
Because, I mean, obviously shooting here as the sort of lone American in a kind of English cast, so shooting with obviously English casting crew, English locations, how did you find your experience? Did we look after you?
They did. They held me down. They were supportive. They were welcoming and warm. And I mean, how many questions did I ask you? I remember we have a chat that we're all in, and I was asking everything from which detergent to use to where do I find my food.
It was quite a quick to see Nafessa just dropped off in the middle of the Cotswolds or in Bristol to shoot these things. It was quite a trip, just the first few days, just to observe.
When I first got here, I was like, okay, did I mean this? Where, what country am I in? Where is this? It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
A good
Do I
bit.
now regret my life choices?
Did I mean this? Did I really mean I would move here for this?
Are there any new English delicacies that you discovered here during your time? Biscuits, perhaps?
Cucumber sandwiches, was that something that went your way?
Cucumber sandwiches was not my thing.
Did you have Pims at some of the parties?
No, I'm trying to think. What are some food?
Strawberries.
Okay, what I did
meringue.
find here is that the food is a lot more. It's very healthy. I ate a lot of pasta. I ate a lot of bread, and I didn't gain weight. I wasn't bloated. Y'all do really.
Oh, so
good.
the unhealthy food is healthy.
The unhealthy food is healthiher here. For sure.
We do good bread.
Yeah, y'all do good bread.
Yeah.
Nice,
Not known
fresh,
for pasta, but you know.
Nice fresh bread.
We do fresh bread.
Mm-hmm.
I love the chat show sort of segments and kind of this. And I wanted to ask, because as a kind of actor who's kind of been in the kind of chat show environment, what's it like? Do actors kind of enjoy them? Because I guess it's quite different, isn't it, to something like this, where you're sort of sat down promoting your kind of latest project.
Right.
There's that kind of, it's more expectation to tell kind of anecdotes. There's a line of some of the most famous people on the planet all there. What's that whole kind of experience like?
I think it's more vulnerable because we're talking about work now and stuff, and there's always you go back to work and it's fine, but you don't know what somebody may ask you on a live thing, and it's also, it could be anything from your childhood story, you know, so you have to be willing to reveal a lot of yourself, and I suppose actors generally you know, shockingly for some people, don't always like doing that. They love hiding behind the mask of somebody else, that they really adore that feeling. So showing yourself can be difficult. So yeah, not always the most comfortable, but it depends who you're with, and then some people make it much better, as you can, you know.
But I think because I was sort of, because it's a bit of a throwback, your sort of there's a characters kind of chat show. I've loved to have watched it, and it's all got me thinking. Chat shows back in the sort of day. I mean, there's sort of Mavis Nicholson, Michael Parkinson. When you watch clips now, they're so different to they are now. It always feels like there's much more kind of conversational. Do you think there's more of an appetite for that kind of more? So conversations a bit more like they kind of used to be.
There is, but just not on television. It seems like this long form interview is it seems like it's the podcast is the form for this now, and they do it so well. You can listen to podcasts. I mean, on a weekly basis. Some of them I listen. It could be a couple of hours long. You know, it's taking you days to finish them or whatever. And I think that's where it's happening. On television, I don't know. I love the long form on television. We were talking about like William F. Buckley's Firing Line earlier, or some of the like dusty, smoky BBC. You know, they just allow the pace of the interview to go at its own speed. And there's something I quite like about that. But I don't think it's in unison with the way we live our lives today, probably. It's probably too slow. Yeah.
I sort of loved all the characters. It's a real ensemble piece, obviously, and I love sort of the sort of characters. And they had their kind of overstated versions, but of people that very much exist today. I just wondered, being in the kind of industry, obviously David Tennant's character Tony. Have you met people like him? Are there Tonys out there still working today?
In the business?
Yeah.
Have you met Tonys in the business?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, at some point I've come across them.
I think probably less and less in the last sort of half a dozen years or so.
Exactly. I think less, but more so maybe when I first started out.
Yeah.
I would say so. That I've came across a few.
Yeah. But they're around. Not so much anymore.
And of course, I mean, a big sort of part to this is the kind of, obviously sex is a big part of this, the kind of desire, the kind of, or the kind of infidelity that kind of exists within this kind of Jilly Cooper world. I'm just wondering about shooting kind of sex scenes now compared to maybe kind of 10 or 15, 20 years ago, because obviously there's been a lot of discourse kind of surrounding, and you read about kind of intimacy, kind of coordinators. Does it feel more like there's more guidance, more protection on set than there used to be?
Oh yeah, we had a good bit of, we had a couple intimacy coordinators who were there, who made sure, you know, we felt comfortable and we had any questions, and I felt safe while we were doing it. And then also too, like, I don't know how much you saw, I don't want to give too much away, but I'll say David was very gentle with me and made me feel safe and you know, safe enough to come out and play in such a vulnerable way.
He's a real pro.
Yeah, he really is.
But you know, you said how much has it changed the last 10 years or so? I mean, I do feel, you know, I'm sounding old here saying this, but like I do remember a time when we didn't have intimacy coordinators, and it did feel different. I think it's just slower because everyone's being super careful. We don't have a dialogue or vocabulary for the things that we want to say. Sometimes you might get an older male director who just feels awkward about the whole thing and he doesn't know what to do, so he steps back and the whole thing can be just a bit messy. But more importantly, I don't think you're getting the best scene or the best work. I think with intimacy coordinators, we can all be on the same level. We can talk openly about the scene we want to do, how it works, how it doesn't work, what bits did, what bits didn't, and it's just an open conversation. So yeah, it's much better is the answer to what it was like a decade ago. Yeah.
Cool, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for the time today, guys. Much appreciated.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you too. Have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!